If you want to build a guitar from scratch, there's still a lot of parts you're going to have to buy. If you're trying to understand your options and you want to get some actual numbers, stay with me. And by the end of this video, I promise you'll have a much better idea of the budget you may want or need for your next guitar. So come with me. Let's build a guitar. Hi, I'm Yoav and this is the Electric Luthier. When you start shopping for guitar parts, you may easily get lost in a wide range of products with different brands, websites, and quality levels. A very basic guitar with Chinese-made no-name parts can be built for as low as $120. However, if you're buying original parts, brand name hardware, and high-end materials, you may easily reach $645 or more. And that's of course without taking your own labor cost into account, and I did not include the materials for the body and the neck, which I'll mention later. There are many other factors which can sway the overall price of the guitar, but I did not just pull these numbers out of my hat. There's a wide range of styles and types of guitars, as well as standards of quality for any given part. I'll try to make some sense and put things in order in an attempt to get a clear picture. We'll do some interesting comparing at the end. So what's included here? Well, for the majority of guitars, the part list and the setup is fairly straightforward and known, and you're not going to need to invent the wheel to build them. I'll be breaking down a list of the commonly used parts and hardware. These will include a set of machine heads or tuners, a nut, a fretboard, frets, a truss rod, pickups, a pickguard if needed, a bridge, electronic parts, and other bits and pieces such as screws, strings, string trees, and ferrules. I'll be comparing parts from different makes and different standards and finish with a chart to get the full picture. You should keep an eye for shipping costs, especially with the cheaper stuff from China, although many sellers do have a free shipping option. Oh, and the prices are in US dollars. I'll be picking the prices from various websites, but mostly AliExpress for the cheaper, usually generic selection. I'll be using Solo Guitars and StewMac for a wide range of brand names as well as their own labels. There are some other more specific brands, but they're usually at the high end anyway. I'll fill the gaps if needed with Amazon because they just have pretty much everything, although a lot of the cheaper stuff is just someone reselling from AliExpress or one of the competitors. For full disclosure, I am affiliated with Solo Guitars and Amazon, so if you do end up purchasing through any of the links I'll put below, you'll be helping to support this channel, and I will be grateful. Okay, let's start at the headstock with machine heads or tuners. I'll be talking about sets of 6 here. There's no significant difference for a 1-row or a 3-in-3 configuration, so I'll not divide them in the cost. At the low end, you can find a set of standard tuners for as low as $8.50 and a set of locking tuners for $12 to $25. The finish and paint may not be 100%. The mechanism may not be as smooth as you would want. You may be able to get some Korean-made Gotos, Wilkinsons, or other familiar brands, which should be of the better ones in this category. The locking ones have the added advantage of the locking feature, which will remove strain from the mechanism and actually hold the string in tune pretty well. It can always be hit or miss in this price range. When we get into the mid-range tuners, there are some very decent tuners, including names such as Hipshot, Grover, Kluson, Godo, and even some models from Fender and Scheller. On the range between $45 and $75, you should be able to get good machine heads which would satisfy the majority of guitarists and will be a cut above the low-end guitars and guitar kits. Around the $80 mark, we get into the high-end tuners. These will go up to $150 with very specific models reaching upwards of $300. The better models from names such as Graphtec, Scheller, Grover, Kluson, Spretzel, and also original Fenders and Gibsons. These are certainly high-end products and should satisfy even the most discerning guitarists. Probably overkill for first-time builders, but if you're the type that does not compromise, you'll find wonderful products in this price range. So machine heads, the cheap ones for $10 to $25, mid-range $45 to $75, and the high-end $80 to $150. When it comes to bridges and tailpieces, we have to be a bit more specific because the different types of bridges are not as comparable as tuners, which are either locking or not locking. I'll try and bundle them together according to functionality and style. Tune-o-matics will usually come as a set of bridge and tail, with a few exceptions, and I will pair them in every price range. Now these are typical of most Gibsons, and they really are a style of their own. The Gibson lover may be able to find a set of bridge, tail, and mounting studs for as low as $5, and even including rolling saddles for under $20. Ordering through Amazon of less familiar names will also get you complete sets of different colors and variations for under $40. A bit of a step up in price will give you tailpieces from Godo at $25 to $40, with original Gibsons closer to the $60 mark. To these you can pair Godo, Gibson, Tone Pros, or Scheller bridges from $40 to $70. There are a few cheaper options, but I think if you're building a Gibson style guitar, you may want to spend $20–30 extra for the original hardware. If you want to go beyond original Gibson products to aftermarket such as Babix, Scheller, or Graphtec, you'll find amazing products starting at $120 and soaring to $200. For other hardtail bridges, I'll include a variety of bridges here, including tele-style, single string saddles, and everything in between. These bridges are simple and functional, and you can get a nice looking hardtail bridge from $5 on AliExpress and $10 and up, even on Amazon. These can be tele-style, Strat style minus the tremolo, or other variations. You can even get a single string bridge saddle set for a multi-scale guitar. Some of those may have blemishes on the finish and paint, but in most cases, due to their simplicity, they're just fine. For the same type of bridges, but from more known producers and with better finish, you can start around the $30 with Solo Guitar's own brand and go up to $60 for Godos. There are many options in this range with a surprising original Fender Telecaster bridge assembly for about $40. For a first-time builder, these are probably the easiest types of bridges to install and set up. Many of them have the option of top stringing as well as through the body and will never fail when it comes to sustain. When it comes to the high-end, expensive hardtail bridges, you need to take one look, and while still simple, you can understand the price tag. You may not justify it, but the difference is quite clear. Between vintage Strat bridges, Bigsby, and the many models of Floyd Rose, there are many options for the whammy lovers. There are types of tremolos to fit any guitar and style, floating and static with different mechanisms and even greater price range. If you're ordering from China or from any of the low-priced venues, you can find Strat style bridges for as low as $8, including springs, screws, and all. These are generally fine, but are characterized by a very thin and light block, which may compromise sustain. Still under $20, you can find a set of Floyd Rose bridge sets, and for a few more dollars, you can also find a Bigsby style bridge. These will be no-name or Chinese brands specializing in music instruments and parts, and will range up to $40 or $50. At $50 to $80, you'll be able to find a wide range of more presumptuous Chinese manufacturers, which means nothing about the quality. A few more known labels such as Solo's own brand, Wilkinson, and maybe a Godot. These will be of Strat or Jaguar style and of the simpler models. Tremolos, being a more complex piece of machinery, really start around the $100 mark. Here, you'll be able to find the basic models of certified Floyd Rose, as well as Godot, Wilkinson, Babix, and even original Fenders. The range gets much wider beyond $150, with models from all premium brands. If you're more particular about models and features, there are models from Shaler, Floyd Rose, Babix hitting and passing the $300, as well as smaller makers like Kaller or Super V. So Tunematics can go from $5 to $40 for the cheap ones. Mid-range would go between $40 and $100, and the high end starts at $120 and can go to $200. Hardtail bridges also start at $5 and go up to $30. The mid-range is $30 to $60. High end, $90 to $160. And the tremolos will start at $8 and go up to $50 for the cheap range. The mid-range for $50 to $80, and the high end starts at $100 and just goes to wherever. Pickups are probably the #1 component which will affect the sound of your guitar. It's also one that has the largest number of varieties and options, and on top of that, it's the hardest to judge without hearing it. And you would want to test it on the actual guitar you haven't built yet. A quick search on Amazon or AliExpress will yield a wide variety of options from a price range of $10 to $50. This can include a full set of 3 single coils for a Strat-like configuration or a pair of active Seymour Duncan humbuckers. As a side note, AliExpress is trying to improve their reputation when it comes to fake branding. And I'm surprised pickups do show up with copyrighted tags. They may actually be real. You can also find pretty much any shape, color, and style of pickup you can think of. Some of them sound surprisingly good, but when it comes to pickups, Sound is very subjective and depends on the sensitivity of the guitarist. Fortunately for most guitarists and builders, some of our favorite pickup manufacturers have a line of products that will fall under the $90 range. You can find Wilkinson's, Seymour Duncan's, DiMarzio's, Lay sensors, and even some vintage Fenders. If you stretch to the $120 range, I'll still consider this mid-range. You can also get some Gibsons and an even better selection of all the above. There are definitely some excellent pickups within this range. If you or whoever the guitar is for has the ear and the cash for the top-end pickups, there are real gems in this category. Starting at $150 and soaring to above $300, you'll find bare knuckles, Fishmans, EMGs, as well as original Fender sets, Seymour Duncans, and Lay sensors. At this price range, you should really know what you're looking for, as they're all good, but in different ways and nuances. If you're opting for a 430 set of bare knuckle humbuckers or a $350 Fishman Fluence Telecaster set, when an original is probably half of that, you should know why it's worth it. So to sum up pickups, you can get cheap ones for $5 to $40. Mid-range would run between $80 and $120, and the high-end are $120 to $200 easily. The machine heads, bridges, and pickups are the most expensive parts of the guitar, and where you can spend or save the most significant amount of money. The rest of the parts don't cost as much, and therefore the tolerance between the cheaper and the more expensive is not as great. They do add up though. When it comes to truss rods, unless going for a real replica, most builders will use some type of a dual action truss rod. The aesthetics here play a secondary role, and the variations are mostly the type of key and method of adjustment. These truss rods are also easier to install than some of the factory-built ones. Ordering cheaper truss rods from China or Amazon will cost between $4 and $12. A similar truss rod from Solo Music will also be in the same ballpark. Some more sophisticated options are also available, such as titanium rod and carbon reinforcing rods. StewMac has their own take on these and their hot rod, which is around $30. Now, the one piece of lumber you have a better chance of ordering is the fretboard. Of course, you'll get much better deals if you can find a good wood supplier in your area, but these small pieces of very specific types of woods are often not available locally. So online we go. The Chinese websites have a nice selection of ebony and rosewood and cost between $4 and $25 for a 3A grade ebony. They come at different sizes for various scale length and can be pre-slotted or flat. For better quality controlled, and if you want to be sure of the wood's origin, there are rosewood, ebony, and even curly maple for $30 up to $50, and some more exotic types for up to $80. AliExpress can provide enough wire for a full fretboard for under $5, and even pre-cut and bent. If you're thinking about more than one guitar, a 2-meter roll will be more cost effective. At the same time, an original vintage Fender set will only cost $15 at Solo Music, and a stainless set at StewMac for about the same amount. Dots and side dots should be about $5. You can add about $10 for the block or trapezoid inlays. Standard plastic, bone, and even Graphtec nuts will usually not cost more than $10. Most metal and locking nuts, the type which often comes as a set with Floyd Rose type bridges, can also be found for under $10 or $20 if you stretch it, with exceptions such as the Fender LSR roller nut at close to $50. Excluding the tiny potentiometers you may get for under $1, most decent pots would cost between $5 to $10, with original Fenders or Gibson pots at around $15. Add a few more dollars for wiring and capacitors whenever you get them. Most standard 3-way or 5-way switches will range between $10 and $25 for the different types. You can find them for $8 at Amazon and even half of that on Chinese websites. Standard jacks are around $5 and about half in China if you're interested. Double that if you're using a Strat style jack plate or another version. If you want the Fender original parts, just add a few more dollars. If you're not gunning for some custom-made or fancy originals, knobs will usually run around $4 or $6. If you order them from China, it could also go down to $2 for standard buttons and $5 for the locking variations. And if you want to get fancy, it goes up to $40 for certain Scheller lock systems. There are a few optional additions that are not standard on all guitars and styles, so add them to your list if they apply. If you're stringing through the body, you will need a set of 6. These can be $4 to $15. Tele, Strat, SGs, LPs, Ibanez, Gretsch, Explorer, and more styles have the unique shaped pickguard. In most cases, these will cost between $5 and $15. Special design and finishes will have a price to match. String trees or retainers, if you need them, are around $10. And if shopping in China, throw them in the cart for $2 or $3. Standard bindings will add up to $5. A pair of carbon fiber neck rods will cost about $10 if you manage to find them in China, and otherwise they're usually about $25. So the total average is between $120 for a dirt cheap version and about $650 for a fully loaded guitar. At this amount plus change, you can get the full range of hardware for pretty much any guitar you would want to build. And in the upper third of this range, you would have some really nice parts. These numbers also give you a very nice range to work within and decide where and how much you want to compromise. What I did not take into account here is the timber for both the body and the neck. Now, buying different types of wood in whatever size and shape they come, combined with shipping for large and heavy objects, has too many factors to take into account for me to give a meaningful estimate for the actual cost. You will want to source wood as locally as possible. It's even better to use pieces that have been standing in your area and your humidity for a long time. One last thing you should take into account, especially if this is your first build, are some specialty tools even the experienced hobbyist would not have in his or her arsenal. That's a topic for a whole other video, which I will link up here and will appear right at the end along with my process for purchasing all the above for a new 7-string custom guitar I'm working on. I hope this has all been helpful for all you dreamers and builders. You can get all this information at my website, theelectricluthier.com, in text format, and I will link it in the description below, along with other useful links. If you like this, let me know. And until next time, don't just watch videos. Go ahead, build a guitar.